All right, welcome to hashtag randomly with Ronnie Jr. Hello, it is me doing an episode about divorce. Oh my. I really like this cast member though. To me, Cynthia Bailey is just fun. But of course, if you follow and you do, follow the Bravo, all the excitement that goes on and all the different franchises, everyone has a favorite character or a character that they think is a bit lackluster or a character that gets on their nerves. There's all these different styles, and to me, Cynthia Bailey doesn't really have. She kind of does her own thing. She really is her own person. Sometimes there will be a little bit of a critique of like she's not as polarizing. But the thing is, for me, I think about it like this: like she's had an actual career. Okay, there's a difference. There's a difference with the housewives that have had an actual career and the ones have had to come onto the show and sort of show everything to make it work. And with Cynthia, I've always actually felt like she was a bit compelling. It was interesting to me in the earlier stages, her being a friend with Nene Leakes, like that to me never made sense. I, even from season one, was like more She by Sheree. And of course, the seasons, the franchise itself really started moving once we had season number 5 with the great Kenya Moore coming through. And I know that was even a tough time with Cynthia not really knowing how to receive her because, they were, it was the model world and it was the pageant world coming together. And of course, as we know now, Kenya is always going to give it to you and she's always going to give you Kenya Moore hair care and all the stuff. In regards to what it's about now and what the new, I guess this is going to be a headline or it is a headline and they're going to move forward with it. What are your thoughts on Cynthia Bailey divorcing Mike Hill after just 2 years? For me, there is like such an easy way to kind of break down and critique somebody. Oh, the happy couple at one point. It's a very easy thing to do to kind of break down and make it like, oh, maybe he was just in it for reality, or that's he wasn't really in it for her, in it for love. And we don't know. We don't know the reason. I think with this particular episode, I want to do the critical. I sincerely do want to break it down and say like what did happen. But I'm also going to do, a little bit of like at a certain age, when you're not, in your 20s and your 30s, you feel like you know everything. But really, it's like when you hit 40 and like above, and these people are of that age. And I think it's a real good time to kind of understand and know, listen, we know that it's not going in the right direction. So this episode isn't going to be the teardown episode. It's going to be a little bit of both. We're going to kind of like break out some ideas like what happened? Was it Mike's fault? Was it Cynthia's fault? I don't think it was Cynthia's fault. I'm going to be biased on that one. I'm going to tell you I really like her. I do feel like it was a bit challenging when Cynthia went on Ultimate Girls Trip with Kenya and things went the way that they did. And so I'm hoping for this like bond and this, coming back and reconciliation with those two as far as friends. And then we'll talk about, do we want Cynthia to come back to Housewives? I would kind of be interested to see that. The weird thing though is this: you do a show called The Real Housewives, and once she got married, they essentially didn't need her for the show. What's interesting to me about Cynthia in terms of Mike Hill being the choice of marriage, and it seems like at least right now, no one's really said anything. It seems in the early stages it's a split that is good for them both, and they knew it and they have love for each other and all the good things. But you still got to wonder like what made the resistance within the marriage, because it's such a short time. And I said this on a TikTok. I was like, on one hand, you wish when you see any marriage for that matter, you want to see them continue, you want to see them push, you want to see them sort of fight for the marriage, because 2 years is a very, very quick time. But I was thinking about this recently. If you're at a certain age, as I was saying, over 40 years old, you know yourself a little bit better. And when you are aging, you can tell like, what, it's not working right now. The best bet is to end this, and then we can both go on and have a really great life, each of us, and love each other from afar. So if I think about it in that perspective, I'm like, okay, I totally get it. Cynthia, Mike Hill, like it makes sense that they would just kind of know that it wasn't going in the right direction. Let's call it quits early. No harm, no foul for the most part. and I hope it does stay that way. But if we had to think with a critical eye, what did Wendy Williams always used to say? If I were to squint, I can see this, what would we say is an issue that Mike Hill would have brought to the table? I know that when she was originally dating on the show, at least on the show, is a little bit different than in real life, but a lot of times these things do overlap. On the show, there was a lot of her friends, Kenya specifically, when she would date prior, before she met Mike Hill, that were very like, hey, wait a minute, we can't have you go out with her because, you were on a reality show. I think Candy called that out. You were on a reality show and you're just in it for the limelight. So the funny thing is, the first guy that she was sort of interacting with, they really didn't let they didn't let it be. Rightfully so. Protective friends, protective Cynthia. Even Cynthia was a little bit protective of herself. But it was weird. Like something happened when Mike Hill came through, and it felt like to some degree she let her guard down. Okay, and I'm not saying it, but at the same time, the only thing that I had thought with Mike Hill is the same thing that they were worried about with some of the other guys that she was maybe looking at as far as suitors, possible, love interests or whatever. They were very on them. But Mike Hill, who would stand to get that publicity, who would stand to love the limelight, would stand to enhance his broadcast career, there was not no one batted an eye. So that was always funny to me. Again, I am not saying it's happening this way. Shout out to the team Mike Hill fans. If you love Mike Hill, then that is great. He's a great talent. I love anyone who is in the broadcast space. Broadcast was something I wanted to do since I was a kid. I was the type that would have the toilet paper wrapper, and then I'd go like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, as if I was like on TRL or something. So I love the concept of a good broadcaster, but there is something to be said about him coming on the show and all the attention and all the, he sells a book right away, this, that, and the other. Not saying, by the way, that he wasn't doing that before, but he stood to get more exposure, So could that have been it? Could that have been one of the things where it was like, it worked really well? When the TV screens, well, in this case, the cameras, when the cameras are on you, especially the reality TV cameras, sometimes that enough will make you sort of fall in love. You hear about the Big Brother cast members all the time. Big Brother cast members will be like, well, we were in the house by ourselves. We couldn't go anywhere. Suddenly, somebody you wouldn't even necessarily like be in love with, you start like having feelings for. And those feelings aren't real feelings. Those are, reality TV feelings. So again, we are happy that the reports are that Mike Hill and Cynthia Bailey are, okay, and they're, splitting peacefully. But we also want to squint with that eye and say, could it have been this? Because let's say there was a smidge of an additional agenda. That is not saying he didn't like Cynthia, but you date her, you propose, and then you have the wedding, and then suddenly whisked away from the show, which I thought was the stupidest thing. I never understood Bravo's decision to, once she finally got married, it was like it was closing out her story. I thought she had plenty of story, and maybe Mike Hill thought there was plenty of story too. So that's one thing. And again, because look, I mean, they are a cute couple, so let me not knock. Let me say that they had their years together, and sometimes love does not last long. It just it does what it needs to do. But she's so great. She's so I just love her so much. She is so fabulous to me. So I want to be open that I'm biased and protective of a person I don't even know. I think I'm biased to her because people are so like, oh, she's boring, this, and this. And I'm like, you mean to tell me somebody who had an actual career, somebody who actually had a skill set? A lot of these housewives, even the good ones, some of them don't have a skill set whatsoever. We watch, we like it, it's funny. But no, I just can't disrespect the people that come to the show like a Candy, with the skill set. Lisa Rinna, people want to come on, Lisa Rinna. And I know she's done some wild things, but Lisa Rinna, first of all, she's like a Giselle Bryant. She gets in there and she gets that show rolling. But also she came from a career, when Kathy Hilton wants to talk about everyone in Hollywood thinks this about you, the key word is everyone in Hollywood knows and respects, what Lisa Rinna does. So it's just funny to me to wash them all away the same when some of the housewives, came from a casting and some of them came from, a legitimate career. So I love Cynthia Bailey for that. And that's just never going to change. Okay. Second thing, Let's do it. Mike Hill. Again, if you're team Mike Hill, that's so great. And we're not going to really do teams. This is actually a really fun episode. No, I don't have no polarizing like, well, this is what happened. I'm pretty open and chill about it. But I will say, could it have been? Could it have been? Could it have been the fact that he was a little too friendly? We saw this on the show. He did keep a really big group of female friends around. Okay. And these are best friends, this, and this. Is that something if you're Cynthia Bailey, when you marry him, can you continue to be as open as you once were? It was a lot of excitement. It was a lot of, stuff going on as the wedding was about to start or prepare for the wedding, which they had to move theirs back, I believe, right? Because they were originally going to be the 10-10, or did they do the 10-10, 20, 22, something like that. I think maybe, again, when you have all that excitement and you have all your female friends that are gorgeous, maybe that's something that Cynthia at one point was like, yeah, I could handle it. He's honest with me. He's open with me. But I think what it really comes down to is, and I'm not saying Cynthia felt this, but if she did, maybe Cynthia's trying to communicate with him and he always has his best communication with these beautiful women who are his best friends. Again, best friends, Mike Hill, team Mike Hill. I'm not saying that he crossed any lines, but I could tell you that to me, in terms of like Cynthia or anyone receiving that, you could get worn out by that real quick. So it's one of those weird things where it's like, if you're Cynthia and you're Mike Hill and he has all these pretty, female friends or whatever, the besties, it's not saying they have to exit the picture when Cynthia comes through. Like there's no boundary that she put out, like saying, I don't feel comfortable. She felt comfortable with everything, but sometimes in the long run, that's not really going to be something that you're going to really, want to see, or especially if you have something that you need to talk to your husband about. And it's like, oh, here's a good example. Do you remember when in the movie Brown Sugar, Nicole Ari Parker's character was mad at Taye Diggs' character because Sanaa Latham, why am I not calling them by the character? Anyways, Sanaa Latham's character had information that he was going to go start his record label before. And so that really put her in a position where she's like, well, what do I need to do now? You're not even giving to me the way you would give to her. And so when you're the spouse and your spouse is giving to somebody else, best friend or not, I mean, it doesn't help that the person is gorgeous. You know what I mean? But I mean, they could be a schlub for all we care. It's just a matter of that communication kind of needs to go, to the spouse first, or if it doesn't, that spouse has to be, assured in so many ways. Like, don't flip it on the person and make it like, oh, you're being insecure. And I don't know, again, we're just doing some hypotheses, about what could have happened. But, you can't flip it on the person and be like, oh, you're being insecure when it's something that you want as a automatic and as a default. You are my spouse. We are together. So all information should come to me first. And maybe, could have been something like that was not happening. I don't know for sure. These are just some ideas. Let's talk about a couple other things because we love Cynthia, Cynthia Bailey, the Bailey Agency, all of it, her modeling, talking about just her days, dipping and doing, as Wendy Williams used to say. And I just think this is probably hard for her. I guess I should do a little breakdown, whereas if it was like, what if it was a little bit of her fault too? Actually, I won't do that, because in a divorce or in a breakup of any kind, it's usually not a this or that thing. It's usually just things aren't working. So those were the only two things I could really break down. If you have any smarter, really thought-provoking, educated comments and things I've not thought of, you could put it in the comments. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Cynthia's right or Cynthia's wrong. I'm not saying Mike Hill's right or Mike Hill's wrong. I'm just saying, he favorably enhanced his career by, marrying her at the time. The show goes away, and what short of a union they ended up having. So I'm just interested to know what caused it, I guess, but at the same time, trying to mind my business. I almost didn't want to do this episode because I was like, I don't want to be all in their business. When someone's going through a divorce, you just gotta let it be. But because I love Cynthia, it was more an episode where I was like going to navigate it through her eyes, like, well, what does she do next? So the question that I have immediately is, Does she want to go back to Housewives? I mean, is this something that you do? Now, on one hand, I think absolutely not. But, it's like anytime you have a stagnant, and I'm not saying the divorce is stagnant. She might have got the divorce and is feeling more free than ever before. She could be that way. I don't know. But if she is feeling stagnant, like, a divorce, like, people say it's a loss. 2 years wasn't the longest, but it still is a loss. She did it on national TV. She could be nervous and embarrassed. Does she take this newness and, she was, spending so much time in Los Angeles, maybe relocating back to Atlanta and, you know, identifying and saying, what is it to be my age? And I've had a great career and I'm single. My child is grown. Noelle is grown. What is it to navigate in that space? So to me, honestly, that would be a great watch. I think that would be wonderful. Another thing that a lot of people have talked about, and it makes a lot of sense too, is if she stays in Los Angeles, just bring her on over to Beverly Hills. I don't think Kyle's an interesting housewife. And somebody said recently that Kyle makes sense because she's like the the not the they didn't say the calm or the mellow one. They should have said boring one. They said she's the one that keeps them grounded or whatever. Well, this is a perfect time to get rid of Kyle, get rid of Kathy, give them their own show that no one will watch because they are just not interesting whatsoever, and then bring Cynthia in there. If people want to say Housewives of Atlanta, Cynthia is not as wild as a Nene Leakes. Good, Nene Leakes is boring to me. She was never funny whatsoever, never, not once. In fact, maybe if I had to break it down, I would say the only thing that she ever said that was a little bit interesting. But again, if you take a lot of shots, this is like a basketball term, I guess. You're gonna make one. She did say one time, Nene, she said, what did she say? Oh, I said what I said. Nah, that was okay. That was pretty good. But I mean, how many episodes do we have to hear just such nonsense? And that unfortunately makes it look, not is, but look like Cynthia is maybe less interesting. This is the problem when you have people. I mean, when Cynthia was dipping and doing, in the modeling world, we know where Nene Leakes was. So, two people coming to the same place, yes, though they're the same because they're on the same show. And this is not a knock on, that lady. They just have to operate differently. Cynthia doesn't have to go that far and be that, foolish, maybe, because she actually had substance. She had, a career. I don't know. I don't want to bring that lady into this. I just want to make it about Cynthia, but I do want to make it clear that Cynthia isn't always just been boring. She just might be around some really, thirsty, being in front of the camera types, and then it makes it seem like she is boring. But I don't think she is boring. I would love to hang out with Cynthia Bailey. To me, she's like one of the best ones on the show. Kenya, of course, is my queen. I love Candy. Candy gets right to the money all the time. And on the franchise now, that's about the strongest. She by Sheree is, of course, always amazing. But I'm a big Kenya Moore fan. Marlo had a tougher season. I'm just saying, if you said that Cynthia really wasn't as vibrant or polarizing, let's put her on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, get Kyle out of there, and Cynthia could be the grounded one for that group. I don't know. It seems kind of perfect to me. My last thing is, I mean, what do you do? What do you do? The episode will end right here. What do you do? So many people are different. Are you, as soon as you have a tumultuous breakup, because I'm going to call this tumultuous, people will laugh and say it's just 2 years, but you got to let them be. This is still hard. But what do you do? Do you go, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody else? Is that the ammunition Cynthia should be playing? Like, should she already be out there dating? Or does she spend a year just kind of being alone and reassessing? Or does she go back to does she go back to that old thing? Does she go back to Leon? I mean, Leon has always been one of the best looking men ever to be on the Bravo, Real Housewives, as far as the men of the show, more so in the space of being Noelle's father. But I mean, I don't know. And I should know, but I don't know if he's married or whatnot. But, he looks just as good now as he always has. And, if he can make Cynthia, her heart flutter, maybe that would be a nice little rebound situation. And we all know rebounds are not good. But that would be another question, is what does Cynthia do now? Or what would you do if this was you? You get in a marriage, sort of high profile, because that's all relative, to to whoever and whatever lifestyle you're living. For her, this was on television, but that was her life. For you, it could have been the biggest wedding in your neighborhood, you know, in your community. And now all of a sudden you have to break up. Do you spend a year kind of like dodging the dating experience because it just is a little too tough? Or do you say, like J-Lo, damn it, I'm gonna get right back out there. And I'll be riding another horse soon enough. I mean, what is the right answer? I don't know. I tend to think that it's a little bit more, you do yourself a little bit better of a service to get right back out there. And actually what you would do, you would probably do the bad pancake theory. You know, the first pancake's always going to be the bad pancake. So go out there, you know, mess around, have a little fun. And then after that point, you know, maybe you can find something that makes more sense to what you're looking for. But I don't know, because I know a lot of people who do this. They like, it's good to be single for sure. I'm single, but I think like sometimes if you're trying to get over a situation, you really should get under another situation or two, because otherwise you're just going to be thinking of all the times. And I mean, it's, you know, it sounds weird to say now because it just happened, but like down the road or soon enough, Mike Hill will be with somebody else, you know? So I would like to see Cynthia back with somebody. I mean, I mean, Leon would just be I mean, they'd have to get their own spinoff. They would have to get their own spinoff show if that were the case. But it's such a fun thing to think about because, you know, back in the day, they were such a hot couple, you know, and it could still work. It could still work. You know, we see Peter Thomas is out there making appearances on Real Housewives of Potomac. Maybe, you know, once we saw J-Lo and Ben Affleck get back together, you know, there's a lot of possibilities for people who once were to become once were yet again. So you really don't know. But ultimately, this is all about Cynthia Bailey. She is a, you know, former model, Real Housewives of Atlanta, you know, reality star, extravagant. What would be the word for that? Reality star, superstar. I'm just saying I really like her. So I like her so much. Marriage is always difficult but fun, and divorce is the hard part of it. I really don't do episodes on #randomly with Ronnie Jr. usually about a divorce because there's nothing to celebrate. But I like Cynthia so much, I just wanted to do a little commentary on it. Anyways, to break things down in terms of my channel, here's a couple other things you could take a look at. Some of the radio experiences that I've had. And I thought I had something else for you, but I don't seem to find it. These are the other podcasts that I'm working on. Some of them, rather. There's a couple more, but these are some that I'm working on. So if you give some time and you want to go check that out, go check that out. Sorry, not the best when it comes to the promotion. That is never anything I like to do. Hence why my Instagram is so not really popping, because with Instagram, it's always like, oh yeah, write on Instagram and then say something that's engaging. And when they engage, right back. I'm like, I don't want to talk to nobody. No, that's what I do the show for. You know, I've come from radio when, I mean, granted, we did phone calls, so I guess it is the same. Anyways, I just want to stop by real quick and say, oh, it is so sad. Cynthia, Mike Hill, 2 years only of marriage, but they're going to be great. Will she end up back on the Housewives of Atlanta? Will she go to Beverly Hills? Will she get that old thing back? Or will she just be the superstar that she always was? I don't know. It'll be fun to see. And Cynthia Bailey, if you are watching, because I know that you are, go out and rock it. And yeah, it'll be great. This has been the end of the episode. I got to go, and I'll talk to you later.
Hey, Ronnie Jr.